So this is an interesting one. A solar storm will strike Earth tonight. Weak power grid fluctuations possible. And I think it's interesting that they actually admit that though the chance is low, it is possible that a power grid failure could occur. Let's have a look at this article here. The NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center forecasts an aurora will light up the sky above areas in the United States, including Michigan and Maine. A solar storm which occurred Monday is expected to strike the Earth tonight. So this is from today. On Monday, the sun spit out a slew of charged particles, a moderate solar flare. These particles are now making their way towards the Earth. The planet's magnetic field will block most of the particles, but some will make it into the Earth's atmosphere. The particles will collect at the north and south poles, and they interact with atmospheric gases. Well, the solar flares have been known to cause power grid failures, but it looks like we'll only get a light show this time. Although a grid failure is possible, it is unlikely. I just wonder how close we are to a massive solar flare and how that plays into Bible prophecy. Does a massive solar flare come and take out the electrical grids of the Earth? That's well within the possibility. I mean, these little blasts from the sun aren't anything, I don't think. Interesting again that they admit a grid failure is possible from this. And of course, they're not going to, NOAA's not going to come out and frighten people by saying it's imminent. What they should be doing is getting people ready for it. And I think the U.S. government has been doing, drills in the past to deal with that. But I think people really have no idea how possible it could be. And these solar flares during the solar minimum, which is happening now, means. And you can follow BP Earthwatch. He does good videos on this. But basically, the magnetosphere and the electromagnetic shield that the Earth has is weaker during times of solar minimum, partially because the sun apparently energizes it somewhat. And so when the sun is more likely to have higher power bursts and flares, it just so happens that it's also charging up the Earth's shields, so they kind of balance each other out. But with the shields getting weaker and weaker because solar minimum, when you do have solar flare, it's cause for concern. Well, according to Seeker, the forecast calls for a high probability of a G1 or minor storm, which could strengthen to a G2 moderate storm, depending on how the streaming particles hit the Earth. Geomagnetic scales storms are ranked on a scale with G at the bottom, R in the middle, and S as the most severe. Forecasts now say the particles will give the planet a glancing blow. It says, as the magnetic fields in a sunspot cross, this can cause a sudden energy explosion, also known as a solar flare. This sends radiation into space, and that radiation can be hurled towards the Earth. G1 storms such as Monday's may affect migratory animals and can cause weak power grid fluctuations. That's interesting. So I wonder how much of this we'll experience today. We'll find out. The barrage of particles may even have a minor impact on satellites. A grid failure would almost immediately fling the United States into a state of panic, the article says, and it's always good to be prepared just in case. But it doesn't look like there will be any serious damage to the power grid because of this storm as of right now. So again, the suggestion that a power grid failure could occur, although they think the chance is low. So will it happen? I don't know. But wouldn't that be interesting in how that plays into the prophetic events? We know the U.S. is not a superpower in the end time, in the biblically prophetic things that are occurring. I saw another article that China is quickly outpacing the U.S. military and will be more powerful than the U.S. military in the near future. And isn't it interesting how these things are converging? And I think there is something that takes out the U.S. from being a world power, a significant event, and it's probably a combination of events. It could be a solar flare that takes out the U.S. and North American power grid, because Canada is connected directly to the U.S. power grid, and from that, a U.S. economic collapse would occur from the repercussions of the power grid being down, or an economic collapse over the world could cause war, and that would certainly take the U.S. out of power, and that would cause all other civil unrest and Mad Max sort of martial law scenario in North America. You have a whole pile of events that are converging here that are possible. The Earth is conspiring to basically build up the end time events, and world politics is conspiring, and world leaders are conspiring, whether they know it or not. All these things are coming together to create a situation which could go downhill very fast in the very near future. We need to be prepared with food and water, because we are likely going to be here for some trials and troubles and some really hard times. But ultimately, you need to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. He's coming back soon. All this could lead, and I think is leading, to the time of wrath, which is coming in about, probably 7 years from now. The end of the 7-year tribulation period. So I guess I'll finish by saying you need to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. These things could be imminent. These things could really cascade and cause troubles very quickly on the earth.